Are we getting into it today? Narratives. Why are they pushed? Do people feel like they need to be justified for their thoughts and they want to be correct so they continue to push these narratives? And why does it only apply to certain players? We're going to talk about all that and more right here. You know what it is, man. San Francisco 49ers Morning Show. Let's go.
Intercepted. It is picked off by Eric Crocker. Over midfield, he'll run it all the way into the end zone. Touchdown.
Crop Talk TV podcast. Peace.
Welcome to another episode of the San Francisco 49ers Morning Show. I am your host, former NFL and AFL defensive back, Eric Crocker. I might as well just say former pro athlete, Eric Crocker. I'm here live, direct, in the flesh. It's the off season, slow times, and I'm not really one that wants to just have to come up with content. You gotta come up with content, but I don't want to just pull stuff out of my ass. But sometimes when something just kind of pops in my mind, it's like, you know what? It'd be good to talk about that. And shout out to the 49ers for always giving us something to talk about. Now, if you haven't already, you already know, man. Subscribe to the Locked On 49ers podcast with myself, Brian Peacock. Locked On NFL Draft with my guy, Ryan Tracy. Both podcasts will come at you 5 days a week. It's draft season, so y'all should be diving into that anyways. Definitely see the flames coming in right now. 5 flames if you're feeling good. Anything less than that, we need to talk about it. Anything more than that, you feeling amazing. I hope everybody's feeling amazing. I'm feeling amazing. I just started back up 75 hard with my wife. And I tell you this, man, and it might go for anything in life. When you work together with someone, it makes things so much easier than doing it on your own. My wife and I, we've been working together on, eating better. I have to drop weight. You can't really see it, especially if I got this black on, but my chest, my stomach. I don't have weight that goes to my arms and my legs and stuff. A little bit lower body, but it's just chest, stomach. That's it. I remember some years back, my grandpa, he Eric, you look like a pregnant snake. That was some years ago. Or maybe he was talking about my dad. Anyways, 75 hard. I don't know if any of y'all have heard of it. This is my second attempt at it. I tried it a few months ago. Tough doing by yourself, especially when everybody in your house is eating whatever. But this time, I made my wife do it with me, and I don't want to say it's easier. It's always going to be challenging. That's what the purpose of it. But it's easier doing it with someone else. I see the 2 flames for the Lakers, man. Lakers. You know the crazy thing? Listen, I love my Lakers. Love them. I ain't watched much Lakers this year. I don't know why. Maybe my mind was so preoccupied with other things, focus on my gym, focus on the podcast, streaming, editing stuff. And I just never got into the season. I don't know, but maybe them being hella sorry made it. I don't know. I couldn't really get into it. So Lakers officially eliminated. Here's my thing. I am a big believer in development, player development. I talk about all the time here. I want to see the players develop. And, I have a guy coming on to someone to host the show with me, and I'll see if he's a believer in player development. I will get his thoughts on where the 49ers are right now. But I really believe in player development and just development in general. And I thought when the 49ers traded for or signed LeBron James, it's I'm not a fan of it because I love player development, building your own. And I wanted to see the 49ers really build with the young group of, the Lakers build with the young group of guys they had. Lonzo Ball, Brandon Ingram, Hart, Kuzma. And I know they weren't great, dude. I know they weren't great, right? But let these guys kind of develop into whatever they're going to be. And I thought once LeBron came, it stunted their growth. They traded them away. It still hasn't really been the same. It's let these guys grow into it. I knew as soon as you got LeBron, all that goes out the window. Now, everybody's like, well, you win a championship. And I've been one. I push back on the Mickey Mouse championship a little bit. I cool, 17 trophies or whatever it is. Shout out to the Lakers organization, but, it's just a little interesting. Was it worth it? I guess if you really value the Mickey Mouse trophy, then it was worth it. I don't value it as much as other people. So traded everybody, traded all your young dudes and stunted their growth and all that type of stuff. And didn't really get much out of it. Didn't really get much out of it. Anyways, how's everybody doing this morning? Hope everybody is great. Here we go. That I agree that AAU title they won in 2020 was suspect. I think that's what it is, right? It was like more like an AAU trophy. And I see my guy here. He says, right here, Sean Bull, he says, man, where is that? I keep missing it. He said, why? Damn. Okay, the messages keep coming in. Here we go. You tripping. He's saying we tripping on the Lakers trophy 2020. It felt more like a tournament. It felt, I mean, and obviously like the playoffs are a tournament, but it felt like AAU tournament. That's what it really felt like. Even watching it was just like, oh, if they win, like, okay, that's what's up. Like when I was watching them celebrate, I was just like when I was watching them celebrate, it was like, yay. Like, you know what I'm saying? Y'all tell me y'all didn't have that same feeling. It was a little weird. Some teams showed up, some teams didn't to the bubble. No fans. It just the whole vibe about it at Disneyland, like the whole vibe about it, it was weird. It was very weird. That never felt real. As someone who watched the Lakers win 5 championships with Kobe Bryant, a few with Shaq, obviously, like that one. So it's like, damn, you traded all the young dudes, stunted their growth and development, and for the Mickey Mouse trophy. I don't know. But anyway, we see everybody in the chat feeling good. Let's go. I got a person coming in, and he's gonna talk about this stuff with me, but I can't wait to get his opinion on these things. But what I want to ask y'all. So we got half a hold on. Croc, you wrong. So we got half a championship. I listen, you tell me how you value that trophy the Lakers won 2020 in the bubble. I always thought it was weird. I didn't really celebrate. I remember I was in Vegas watching it, and it was just like, me and my brother watching it, and it was just like, there weren't that like, the heart pumping, like, you know what I'm saying? It was just like, it's cool. It's cool. Remember, they started the season, and then COVID took the season away, and they were not playing for like months, 2-3 months, and then eventually it's like, oh, we're gonna come back, but not everybody, just some teams, and then some teams are like, man, we're not even gonna go, and then some players were like, well, I'm not playing, and then it was all really weird. It was all really weird. I don't know. Maybe the Lakers would have won regardless. I mean, they were one of the top defensive teams in the league that year. The offensive efficiency was terrific. Maybe they would have won. 4-month stoppage. I don't know. It was weird. I'm not saying it doesn't count. I'm not saying it don't count. I'm just saying that bubble trophy felt weird. It felt weird. So, hey, man, Dwight Howard got a ring in AD, and LeBron won with the Lakers. I think there should be an asterisk next to it. And I'm a Laker fan. Love them. All right, here we go, man. For what y'all get to what y'all came to chat about, chit chat, talk about, come on live, all that good stuff. Hit the subscribe, all that good stuff. Come on, man. We can't do this. Brady only has to. That was a packed house when Brady, there was no stoppage in the NFL season. All right. There was no stoppage. When it got to the playoffs, like teams have fans. When they got to the Super Bowl, it was a packed house. People were looking like, what COVID? Like that was 100% real. That was 100% real. 100%. The NFL season never stopped. They're like, no, we're going to do everything possible to keep this show going. Never stop. Right back, got your feelings and pop a bottle crock. Revisit that dub, man. It's cool. It's cool. All right, but let's talk about it, man. I heard something this weekend, and one day, hopefully, I can like come on live and talk about it. Because this was a direct source, and I'm trying to choose my words wisely here, y'all. All right, there were people that were not as high on Trey Lance, right, and didn't like him, didn't think Trey Lance was going to be good, and it's not going to work with Kyle Shanahan. From my understanding, Kyle Shanahan loved, loved, loved Trey Lance and would not move off of him. All right. This is a very good source. Hopefully one day we can revisit this and I can talk about it a little bit more. All right, but I can't. I just can't. I know there's a lot of people like, man, like, just state your source or it's not true. Like, this motherfucker true. All right. So there's somebody didn't like him, didn't want anything to do with him, none of that, right? Kyle loved him. Kyle was going with him the whole time. And that person continues to say, oh, it's not going to work. Yada, yada, yada. Mechanics. We work this, we work that. And out the league, whatever. Like, just does not like him. And my thoughts were, we've watched Trey Lance play. All right. We've watched Trey Lance play. And obviously there are these pre-draft narratives of Trey Lance and everything we heard pre-draft, right? What do we hear about Trey Lance pre-draft? Needs to sit a year. Not ready to play in the NFL. Can't, whatever the case is. Like everything that you could say about someone that you feel is not ready, we heard all those things. All right. I actually thought he was one of the more pro-ready quarterbacks coming out. Just because the system and grasping huddles, things like that. But it's always going to be difficult going in the Kyle Shanahan system. It was always going to be difficult, that part of it, right? Like just understanding that to the highest level, or at least to the extent of what Jimmy Garoppolo knows it, right? Jimmy Garoppolo knows it, truly understood it, all that. Trey Lance, it was always going to be a little bit tougher first year. They say that first year in the system is hard, whatever. But one thing that I've noticed is there continues to be narratives pushed on Trey Lance. And I want to know like why that is. Do people feel the need to have to be right? All right. Somebody said blink twice if it's John Lynch. Do people no, it's not him. Do people feel the need to be right? Like, are you so convinced, or I don't even want to say convinced, but you're just so like you want to be right so bad that you will say anything to keep this person down. Right? So I started to look at some of these other guys that don't get this narrative. They don't get this narrative at all. Rookies from last season. Now, we could talk about circumstances, right? We talked about Frank Gore, kind of what he dealt with early on. And man, if Frank Gore was on the Colts, he would have had the years that Edgerrin James had. If he would have been on the Cowboys in the 90s, he would have had the seasons that Emmitt Smith had. But it's just not the case, right? You got to kind of deal with the hand you're dealt. And unfortunately, like that's tough. And there are people going to feel validated by what they've seen from those guys so far. But Trevor Lawrence was the most sure thing. That's what they say. I don't believe in sure things, but that's what they say. Trevor Lawrence, the most sure thing quarterback since Andrew Luck. That's what they told us. And when you look at just stat sheet, now this is box score scouting. But I guess what else do we have? I mean, obviously we can go off the film, we go off what we've seen, but we knew that it wasn't great. But Trevor Lawrence, 59% completion percentage, 12 touchdowns, 17 interceptions. More touchdowns than interceptions. It's interesting because I had tweeted out this video like, man, I can't wait to see Trey Lance lead the 49ers to the playoffs. And I think the 49ers go to the playoffs with Trey Lance. I strongly believe that. One of the responses were, oh, well, he throws too many interceptions. We can't do this, can't do that, can't do this. I'm looking at some of these other guys, and it's like, why don't we have the same energy for some of these guys? So again, Trevor Lawrence, more picks than touchdowns, and was below 60% completion percentage. 12 touchdowns, 17 picks. That's not great. Why do we never hear that Trevor Lawrence wasn't ready? But I make every excuse around him as to why, you know what, what this or his coach got, and it is tough. Your coach gets fired mid-season. You don't have the best of weapons. Like, that stuff is tough. It is tough. But you don't typically hear them really kind of push the narrative of, you know what, well, maybe he just wasn't ready. Maybe he wasn't ready for that. Maybe he just wasn't ready for whatever being ready means, which I'm not exactly sure what that means. Let's move on to another guy, Justin Fields. He finally came in. I thought his trajectory in the games that he played was similar to Trey Lance to a certain extent. He came in midway through the first game, and I'll get to some of his stats, but he came in midway through the first game against the Bengals, and it wasn't great. And then he played the next game against the Cleveland Browns, his first start. He got sacked 9 times and netted 1 passing yard. Net 1 passing yard. All right. Now, there were times where he looked, solid, right? It's like, okay, upside, whatever. But he threw 7 touchdowns, 10 interceptions. Another guy that threw more interceptions than touchdowns. And not one time, at least from everything I see, have we heard the narrative that, well, Justin Fields isn't ready. Justin Fields is never going to be good. We haven't heard that. 58% completion percentage. Another guy, Trevor Lawrence, 59%. Justin Fields, 58%. Both guys threw more interceptions than touchdowns. Now, again, Nagy, this, that. It's everything but maybe the guy just isn't ready. All right. Move on to the next guy. Zach Wilson. I was at the 49ers Philadelphia Eagles game. Right? I'm at the 49ers Eagles game. And I look down on my phone and look at a box score. And I see Zach Wilson at one point in the third quarter had 4 completions. Like, up into the third quarter, he had 4 completions. Like, that entire time, he had 4 completions and 4 interceptions. Now, I get it. One of them was like tipped or whatever, pick, whatever the case. It might be bad luck. But 4 completions, 4 interceptions at one point in the third quarter. For the season, 55% completion percentage. Below 60 again. 9 touchdowns, 11 picks. Another guy that's threw more interceptions than touchdowns. But we don't hear the narrative that he's not ready. We don't. At no point. Now, there are some people that, may attack from that, whatever. Other fans like me, he playing like trash. But we don't hear those things about those guys. We don't hear it. Why is that? Why do people feel that they got to be right about Trey Lance, so they're going to keep saying he ain't ready? More so than these other guys. I got one more for you. The other first-round quarterback. Mac Jones. Mac Jones, most pro ready. If they're not talking about Trevor Lawrence. Most pro ready. High floor, low ceiling, whatever it is that they wanted to say about Mac Jones. And he did well. Now, listen, these things kind of work both ways for Mac Jones because people are pushing narratives all over the place. Mac Jones, somebody said, my guy Croc sounded like an old school preacher this morning. I'm digging it. Let's go. Mac Jones, for everything that everybody says he is and stuff like that, the Patriots started 2-4. The Patriots started 2-4. I wonder what the narrative would be if Trey Lance started 2-4. What would they be saying about not ready, not this, not that? Right? Now, Mac Jones, and he had some ugly games, right? 3 interception game, your pick six, all that type of stuff, right? But Mac Jones, 2-4. Then they rattled off 7 straight wins. Man, he won a game where he threw the ball 3 times. The entire game. All right. Now, there are some people that will say, well, Mac Jones, Pro Bowl, all that type of stuff. Oh, there was somebody in my comments on Twitter that said, if the 49ers would have had Mac Jones, they would have won the Super Bowl. The 49ers should be mad that they didn't win or that they didn't draft Mac Jones. Here's what they're not going to say about Mac Jones. Because the narratives, and again, I'll come back and I'll tell you what I feel about all these guys. But I'm just saying, like, this is what they did. Mac Jones, they don't talk about this about Mac Jones. Mac Jones and the Patriots lost 4 out of their last 5 games. Again, Mac Jones and the Patriots lost 4 out of their last 5 games. 4 out of the last 5. And in those 4 losses, the one win, they lost their last 4 out of 5. The one win was against Jacksonville. So they beat Jacksonville, right? But in those 4 losses, out of the last 5 games, 4 losses, Mac Jones threw 7 interceptions. 7. In those 4 games, he threw 7 picks. Again, lost 4 out of the last 5 games. The one win was against Jacksonville. But in those 4 losses, threw 7 interceptions, including 2 in the playoffs, where they got blew out and he could not compete or keep up with Josh Allen, which I don't expect. So I'm going to circle back around and I'm going to talk about like why I get it and I understand it. But it's very interesting that a lot of these narratives get pushed on Trey Lance that he just can't do and this and he's not ready and he's not this. What was Mac Jones ready down the stretch when he threw 7 interceptions in those 4 losses out of the last 5 games? But he's ready, right? Trevor Lawrence, Zach Wilson, Justin Fields, were they ready when they threw more interceptions and touchdowns? But we don't hear the narratives pushed on them. So for whatever reason, people feel a need to be right about Trey Lance and whatever they thought pre-draft, when all we saw was a guy that continued to improve. All we saw for Trey Lance was a guy that in his last game completed 70% of his passes, threw 2 touchdowns, 1 pick, and ran for another 30, 250 yards and all that. He played better, right? He improved. Yet, and won in a must-win game, in a game where if the 49ers did not win that game, they are not in the playoffs. They are not in the playoffs. But for whatever reason, he still gets it ain't going to work. It's not going to work out. But they don't say that about the other guys. I got my host coming on right now, guest host. Excited to bring him on. But real quick, before I bring him on, and I want to get his thoughts on this, I want to go through and talk about how I feel about these other guys. I'll start with Trey Lance. Not Trey Lance, Trevor Lawrence. Again, 59% completion percentage last year, 12 touchdowns, 7 interceptions. They're not saying it. They're not saying he's not ready. They're not pushing that narrative, not doing anything. But I will say that was not a very ideal situation for a rookie quarterback to be in. To shoulder the load of everything that was going on with this poverty-stricken organization, the moves that they made, hiring a coach that had no idea what the hell he's doing, and he made some weird decisions from the jump. They put Trevor Lawrence behind from the rip with moves that they were making, with hirings that they were making, hiring that strength and conditioning coach that was like a racist or something like that, then having to fire him the next day because of public pressure. Trevor Lawrence was set up for failure. And he didn't do very well. And I get it. So I'm not going to say that Trevor Lawrence is not ready or whatever. I mean, all these guys, I don't expect any of these guys to truly be ready for the NFL, like for what it really, truly takes to win. Mac Jones included. Again, we talk about Mac Jones. Lost 4 out of last 5 games of the season, threw 7 interceptions on 4 wins. The only win was against Jacksonville. Justin Fields. They're going to tell you it was Nagy. They're going to tell you this and that. I'll tell you what, he's not in an ideal situation. Neither him or Trevor Lawrence, because both of them have new coaches now. They both got new coaches. They got to learn a new system. A lot of moving pieces. Trevor Lawrence has like 3 new people to throw the ball to. That's tough. Getting a rapport with guys. Justin Fields, I don't even know who the hell he's throwing the ball to. They lost Mooney. Is that it? They lost Allen Robinson. Not an ideal situation. New coach, new head coach, new coordinators, all that. Zach Wilson. I don't know what to say about him. Because, I didn't think it was the worst thing in the world, the worst situation in the world, but he struggled. 55% completion percentage, 9 touchdowns, 11 picks. But Trey Lance is the only guy not ready. Don't see it. Needs to rework mechanics. Finish the season strong. Continue to improve. Teammates told you that. We all saw him against Arizona. And my thing watching Trey Lance against Arizona was, you know what? Okay, I see where he's at. Not ideal. How do they continue to develop him? And what does he look like the next time he plays? Well, once you start getting towards the next time that he was going to play, his teammates started speaking out. He has improved. He has gotten better. He's starting to get more comfortable. He's challenging himself more in practice. Yada, 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 right? Like he's doing all these things to improve his game, get better, whatever. And people were like, oh, they're just talking. They just have to say that. He's about to start, against the Texans. They have to say that. And then he goes out against the Texans. And for a bad half where he completed 10 out of 13 passes and attempted some passes downfield and all that, it's like, oh, bad half. Threw a pick. Bad half. Played good football. Everybody said that he was getting better. Then he went out there and showed, like, look, I completed 70% of my passes. I threw multiple touchdowns, ran them for another one they called back, pushed the ball downfield, threw a bomb for a touchdown. But, you got to keep pushing our narrative, so it doesn't count because it's against the Texans. Ideal is definitely my favorite word. I need somebody to come on and talk to me about this a little bit. Make sense of this. So, I got my guy coming on. Jason Aponte, 2103. What up, Jason, man? How you doing, bro?
Good, Croc. It's pouring over here on the East Coast, bro. I was trying to get my daughter to school, trying to get my wife to work. That's why I'm still in this attire, because I just had to run right in.
You can't take the jacket off if
the jacket kind of is drip. I was looking at it and I was like, you know what? I'm gonna kind of stick with the jacket and do this. But I like what you're talking about right here, because I wanted to point something out and how 1 year isn't make or break for anybody. I'm going to run through somebody's rookie year stats that is largely considered one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time. And it's somebody that had a poor situation, just like many of the guys that you're describing right now. But listen to these numbers. 326 completions on 575 attempts, 56.7 completion percentage, 26 touchdowns, 28 interceptions, a 4.9% interception rate. What if you closed the book on that gentleman after his first year and said, man, he's done. He's cooked. That quarterback that I just described is Peyton Manning. His team went 3-13. Imagine making sweeping statements on quarterbacks after 1 year and saying this is it. But nobody was saying that about Peyton Manning. It's pretty funny how things kind of work out. One thing is situation matters.
100%.
But the thing that you're talking about that is so true is people wanting to be right. And usually we come on here and we give some good football advice. This advice that I'm about to give everyone is good football and life advice. When we go ahead and we project players, we project them. But if you're not willing to change your stance when new information is presented to you, then you are stubborn and a fool. And that goes for life. That goes for football. Okay? How many times have you seen a quarterback come into this league, blaze the league up as soon as he shows up, not even have a full career or anything to show for it towards 3-4 years? How many times have you seen a Peyton Manning come into his career, have a really slow start, and then become one of the greatest of all time? It's not typical, but the point is there are ways to look at things, and you have to be able to change your mind when new information is presented to you and when things change. I'll give you an example. The hardest thing for men to do, right? Men, women sometimes, but I feel like men, especially when we're talking about football, is to admit when you're wrong. You know how hard that is to say, hey, man, I missed on this evaluation. I got it completely wrong, right? I'll give you an example. I love Cam Newton, and I think a lot of the criticisms that he's taken over his career are completely unfair. And I had the narrative in my mind that I wanted to see him win when he showed back up at Carolina. He shows up, he scores 2 touchdowns, I get hyped. He starts the next week, he plays well, they lose, that's fine, I get hyped. But guess what he did the rest of the year? He didn't play well. So do I dig in my heels and say, it's you guys, it's not Cam? No. I go on Twitter and I say, you know what, guys? Cam's in trouble. You guys got me. Yeah, and, you know, that's the hardest part for people to do. And it's so strange. It's not just football. It's hard. You know, we argue with our significant others. We argue with our brothers. We're stubborn. We're saying, no. It's never us that's wrong. It's always you that's wrong, right? Like, you got to listen to us. So that's the thing. It's everything about this evaluation process with quarterbacks, with just prospects overall. The fun part is the projection, but the fun part is to check your work and see where you missed and where you messed up. So guys that you never thought would succeed in this league have. Guys that you thought were short shots haven't. And
but here's the thing, though, Jason. What a lot of people do is even when they go to check their work, they still look for the angle to continue to push their narrative, right? So let's say Trey Lance, for instance, where he's not ready. What they will do is, even in the game where we saw the improvement and he got better, they'll look for any angle to push they continue to push against what they said they saw, right? So, well, it's only Houston. You'll hear that. Oh, he can't get the ball out of his hands. And they'll maybe show 1 or 2 examples of where the ball maybe doesn't come out as quick, but not really. But they'll bypass all the times in that game where the ball did come out of his hands quick, right? Or, he can't read the defense. But they'll bypass the times where he did. So people still, even when they go to check their work, they'll look for angles to continue to push the narrative that they want to drive.
And that's beautifully said, because I think this is all starting because there's a certain someone that we're not going to name and give any sort of, credit to or anything like that is doing this right now. But he's the one who posted something yesterday about, well, Jimmy Garoppolo in Cincinnati did this, and this. Well, then posted bad throws too, bro. If you're going to go through the game and go through the entire game, don't post the end when he had that good drive at the end. Post it all. Hey, he messed up here. This looks good. He messed up here. This looks good. You can't just say he did this, and it's good, and then leave out all the other bad stuff. So it's funny, right? The way that you described it with Trey Lance, it's almost the inverse when people are trying to make the same case for other quarterbacks, including Jimmy Garoppolo. It's just, it doesn't come off objective. It doesn't come off like you are trying to educate people. It comes off with, look, I'm right. And that's the thing that is driving so many people right now, is the need to be right. The need to tell you I told you so. The need to tell you that I'm smarter than you. I saw this coming. You didn't. You're not listening. And that is very ego driven. And that's the part where I shut down from having discussions with people, because if you're not flexible, if you're not fluid, if you're not changing your thought process in any way, or if you're not saying, hey, you know what? That's a good point. Even if it goes against what you're trying to say, then I can't talk with you, because you are stuck in your ways, and that's it. And that goes with anything. It doesn't have to just be football. But if you want to be right and you just want to like stick to that, then talk to the wall. Don't talk to me, and don't talk to other people, because you're not listening to nobody. That's the thing. And that's the frustrating part with all of these things. Everybody has their look, I love Justin Fields. He did not play well last year. Of course, some of that has to do with situation. Some of that has to do with the fact that he holds the ball too long. Some of that has to do with sometimes he's made some errant throws, for sure, right? Right now, you could probably say the best rookie quarterback was Mac Jones. The second best rookie quarterback, I can't believe these words are about to come out of my mouth, was Davis Mills. Did anybody see that coming? Nobody. Trevor Lawrence gets a pass because he's been QB1 since birth. Since birth. Came out the womb, the doctor was like QB1. He's QB1 for the rest of his life. He's the golden child. You always going to keep giving him chances, and you're always going to blame what happened, what's going on in Jacksonville. Justin had a tough time. Zach Wilson was not getting away with the things that he got away with in BYU. Sometimes he had some throws that were dropped. That's true. That's definitely there. But he tried to force some throws in there too. And you start to realize the speed of the game is different. But in no way am I closing the book on any of these guys, because Mac could show up next year and not be good. Trevor could come out next year and look like the guy. Zach could improve. Trey Lance could be the guy that I think he's going to be, right? All of these things are, again, it's fluid. You should look at the year objectively and say, hey, this is where he struggled, and then wait for the next batch of information, which would be the second year. That's the problem, man. Don't have your narrative already in your head without being able to collect new information and change your thoughts. Like that's crazy. And there's nothing wrong with saying, hey, you know what? I didn't think Trey Lance was going to be good. He's actually really good. What's wrong with that? What is wrong with that?
Or this, or maybe some of the things that you thought are an issue with the guy, but maybe they overcome those things. Like maybe those things are still quote unquote issues, but they're able to kind of win around that, right? Like look at Jamar Chase. And I had him as my wide receiver 2 in that class behind Devontae Smith, because I was like, you know what? I don't really see him create separation underneath. I'm not sure how consistent of a high volume pass catcher he's going to be. As a rookie, he has to work on creating that separation off the offensive line, work his releases, etc. But he's a great deep ball threat. He's a great vertically threat. But man, can he win consistently in the NFL? Can he have a great year with some of these limitations? Well, the limitations clearly did not matter. I still don't think that he was as great of a separator underneath, but it didn't matter. He was still able to win vertically and do it consistently at an elite level, right? So it's like, well, it doesn't matter. He still is able to win. And that might be the case with some of these quarterbacks, right? That might be the case with a guy like Trey Lance, where people are like, oh, man, well, the mechanic, or it looks different or whatever. But if he does what he does against the Texans, and he does that consistently throughout a year, maybe not to that extent, but 70% completion, 250 yards, 30 rushing yards, 2 touchdowns, a rushing touch. Like if he does those things, who cares about, oh, I think his release is a little long, or who cares? He's making it work. You know what I'm saying? He's still kind of winning. It just might not be as ideal. Jamar Chase, it might not be as ideal, but he still wins. Now I got people in the chat. Croc, you were hella wrong on Jamar Chase. I wasn't hella wrong.
Number 2, you had a wide receiver 2.
I had a wide receiver 2. Listen, they act like I said he sucks or like he can't play. No. I was just the only one that kind of pointed out, like, hey, he kind of struggles to get off press. He struggles to separate. It just didn't matter. Right. And Trey Lance, there might be things that people say, oh man, the release, it's not going. It doesn't matter.
Yeah. Everybody has different ways that they win. And I think that's one of the biggest things that, like, now I've gotten into the evaluation process, and a lot of the things that I listen to you say kind of make sense in my mind. Let's give another example of a wide receiver. What was Justin Jefferson largely thought of when he was coming out of the draft? A slot guy.
Who?
Justin Jefferson.
Oh man, they were pushing that. People were pushing that in there. Because remember, I wanted him. I wanted him bad. I wanted the 49ers to draft Justin Jefferson. The night before the draft, I was like, Justin Jefferson, he's going to be a 49er. I woke up the next morning, tweet something else out, like, it's J Jet season. Like, and there are people in my thing, not going to work, just a slot, just this, just that. And I'm like, no, it's not just a slot. But yeah, they definitely push that narrative.
That's what I'm saying. So these guys, they have these preconceived notions and they have these narratives pushed on them because so many people, you know what it is too? There's some of us that are trying to formulate our own opinions, but for the large majority, and whether they want to admit it or not, they're influenced by the people that they look up to or the people that they deem as smart, right? So if you hear one of your favorite analysts or something like that, or somebody that you really look up to and you trust their opinion, say something, I'm not saying you're lifting their opinion, but that can definitely get pushed on you and you can start to let that cloud your thought process, right? So when you hear analysts, he's a slot guy, I don't know if he's going to be able to win this way, and then you start to have that creep into your mind, it's clouding your evaluation process. And now look, Justin Jefferson, most yards ever for first 2 years and wins against everybody. It's what the thing is the narratives you have, whatever it is that you want to be true, aren't always what is going to be true. And the thing that the beautiful part about the evaluation process is you project them and then you see where they go. And then it's interesting to take notes as you go along, like, man, I got this wrong. Look at what he does well here. He's improving. People also think that the people, when they come out of college, they're not going to improve in any way, or they're not going to fix something that maybe you didn't like in their game, right? Like, that's the other thing too. It's like, okay, well, he can't beat outside press. What if he learns how to beat outside press with good footwork? Is that something that's impossible? Oh, he can't throw outside he can't throw these sort of routes. But what if he works on that and he does it, or his mechanics are messed? Like, that's the thing is, you projecting them in college doesn't mean that that's the player that you're going to see 2-3 years down the line, or even the first time in the league. So it's the evaluation process is fun. I love it. And I love to see where I got it wrong, where obviously where I got it right. Everybody wants to be right. I'm not going to lie. I do too. But I like to see where I got it wrong so I can keep that in mind, so I can continue to be better at this and not just want the things that I want to be true about players. That's the thing. And it's just so many people have already had in their mind, well, Trey Lance isn't going to work, man. He hasn't played at NDSU. That's a Division II school, whatever. Like, what is it? It's not college football. Yeah, SDS. Yeah. Come on, man. Like, dude, scout the player, don't scout the school, don't scout the helmet, those sort of things. And that's sort of the process. Like, you know what drove me nuts last year too, Croc? And I'm on one right now because this Red Bull's kicking in. That's why I'm speaking so fast. The Justin Fields narrative last year. He's an Ohio State quarterback. They never pan out. Yeah. When did Clemson become QBU? When Deshaun Watson and Trevor Lawrence showed up? Right. Notre Dame was turning out quarterbacks after Joe Montana. Like, there is no QBU. There is no school that can't turn guys out. So maybe Justin Fields pans out, maybe he doesn't. But when you come to me with, Ohio State never turned anybody out, look at Dwayne Haskins. I don't give a shit about Dwayne Haskins or any of those other guys that played. That ain't Justin Fields. Don't tell me because of other guys' failures that one guy's going to fail. That's a weird way of evaluating. Like, you are not evaluating the player at all. If you want to tell me you didn't like the way he held the ball, or he held the ball too long, or this or that, cool. But don't tell me he went to Ohio State. Nobody ever comes out of there. Yeah, well, there's many colleges. That's
a lazy narrative. That's a lazy. It is
the laziest.
Lazy narrative. Like, I did want to post one thing and shout out to my guy Revenge. He says, I can't wait till Trey shuts everybody up. And I can't wait too. And it sucks that it has to be that way, right? Because he has so many people pushing different narratives against him, and they will not move off of it until they see him play for a year. And even then, they're probably gonna be like, well, can he do it again? And obviously you want him to, but it's an uphill battle for him. And that's why, I titled this what I did. I did want to show something. Do you remember who kind of helped with the evaluation process of Trey Lance?
Helped in the 49ers building?
He was actually outside of the 49ers building.
Frank Gore?
Frank Gore. Do you remember what he said?
Yeah, he said he sent the film and he was like, I think you need to check this guy or something like that, I believe.
So here it is. I'll put it up there for everybody to see. Hold on. It was just something kind of cool to see. But here's what Trey Lance had to say, or not Trey Lance, excuse me. Frank Gore had to say about Trey Lance. So basically, Jed York reached out to Frank Gore and was like, "Hey, can you look into some of these prospects?" And this is what Frank Gore had to say. First, Jet York said, "Just take a look and let me know what you think." York said regarding Trey Lance. Weeks passed without any word until York's phone rang Tuesday night. It was Gore. He wanted to talk, but York, putting down his kids for the night, didn't answer. Then York's phone pinged. It was a text from Gore. "Call me," it read, all caps. Gore had watched the tape surface. Watched the tape. Suffice it to say, he was wowed. "You don't give up all that for a pocket passer," Gore told me. "You don't give up all that and still need to call the perfect play for a guy. This guy can make the plays even when the call ain't perfect. He has a chance to be special in that offense." Frank Gore talking about Trey Lance when he watched him. And that was cool to see. But the tough thing is, and the last thing he said there was, he has a chance to be special. And it feels like a lot of people are writing him off without really giving him truly an opportunity to grow and be that guy. And they disregard everything that they've seen from him so far. Well, they disregard the positive and only want to push a lot of negative. So I want to come on here and talk a lot about narratives that are pushed. Right now, and whatever take you have, you can get that off. I want to let everybody come on live. And if you have, I don't want to say narratives, but you just want to come on and talk about whatever. It could be about what we've been discussing. It could be about whatever it is that you want to speak about. Come on live. Appreciate everybody that's here right now. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, all that good stuff. But there's the link. Feel free to come on. But go ahead, Aponte.
Yeah, so here's another thing. And I've said this many times. The whole Jimmy Garoppolo discourse has basically, no matter where you lie, which it seems like everybody kind of lies in the same area in terms of his evaluation and what we know about him. Jesus Croc, that thing is like that. That looks like it's almost like a like fake, almost like you got that from like a Nickelodeon spot, like one of those things. Anyway,
there's a gallon in the water.
So the thing is this: you got the Jimmy Garoppolo enthusiasts. Let's call it that. And you got the Jimmy Garoppolo haters. And the haters are the people that when you guys talk, you kind of meet in the middle. And Jimmy's fine. He wins games. He knows how to navigate the offense, right? But there's the haters. I mean, there's the enthusiasts and there's the haters, right? The problem is that Trey Lance, the biggest pressure that Trey Lance is going to get is not from the outside pundits. It's from this fan base and those enthusiasts. Because those people will, when Trey starts next year, well, Jimmy took them to the NFC Championship. He's got to step in and do that immediately. No, he doesn't. No, he doesn't. You know what I want to see from Trey Lance? Improvement. And if that's going to have his bumps and bruises, which it will, because he's playing his first full season, I'm with it. 49er fans, cover your ears. I know you don't want to hear this. You know what a successful season is for me with Trey Lance? Let's say the team goes 9-8. They miss the playoffs. But Trey Lance shows you over the year that he's the guy and he's moving in the right direction. That's a successful season. It's not wins and losses. It's about improvement. It's about progression. You cannot put this man in a position where you say a successful season or you got rid of Jimmy for him and they didn't even make the NFC Championship again. No, wrong. Absolutely wrong. Absolutely wrong way. Oh, they won this many games with Jimmy. He has to win that many games. No, absolutely not. Trey Lance is not this 1 or 2 year stopgap. This is your guy going forward for many years, right? Like you want Trey Lance to be here 10 years. I don't want to hear about wins in his first year. Let's see the progression. Let's see where he's at. And at the end of the year, let's evaluate him. If he's going like this at the end of the year and they still don't make the playoffs, I think it's a successful season. I don't care. I really don't. And if you're sitting there holding him up to the same standard of this past 49ers team, then that's wrong, in my opinion. The great thing about Trey is that he's stepping into this situation with this top 5 roster. So I can see the thought process of, hey, you can make the playoffs with Trey. I think they definitely can.
Yeah,
but if they went if they went 9-8 and they didn't make it, but Trey shows you he's the guy, that's successful as hell to me. That feels good to me.
This past season was one half away from being a 9-8 season with Jimmy Garoppolo starting most of the season, right? Like, I mean, there was almost no NFC Championship game. You know, they were really a minute and 30 seconds away from being a 9-8 team. And not any of those things, any of the things that happened and playoffs and all that, it almost really wasn't that. Like, it wasn't like they were just this team that, they just, slam dunk, and they were in the playoffs. Then all of a sudden they're in the NFC Championship game. I mean, it took a lot to get there.
And shout out Jordan Willis. I mean, you're not in that NFC Championship game without a block punt. I mean, at that point, right? Like, I mean, there was a little bit of time left. Who knows what would have happened? But largely, that's how you got there, right? Like, there's a lot of factors. And they don't make the playoffs if Trey Lance doesn't beat Houston. Why do people leave that out? Like, Jimmy didn't win that game. Trey did. You needed to win that game. You know why you had to win that game? Because the week before Tennessee, Jimmy kicked that game away. I mean, let's just, like, look, again, what are you worried about? Are you worried about a one-year thing? Like, I know we all want to win a Super Bowl. But you need to see your guy of the future moving in the correct direction. And that is what would be a successful season in my mind. Record be damned. Even though with this coaching staff, with this roster, they're still a playoff team. The NFC's gotten weaker right now. I mean, as of right now, the Rams, the Bucks, the Packers got weaker. I mean, who's Aaron Rodgers going to be throwing to? I mean, I'm sure they're going to draft somebody, but who's he going to be throwing to?
He's still Aaron Rodgers, though.
Of course.
Yeah, I get what you're saying.
Of course. And even when they had Devontae Adams, they had a tough time beating the 49ers, right? So then after that, well, who is it? Seattle's out. Arizona's Arizona. You kind of know where they're going to lay. The NFC South is, who knows, right? Like, what's going to happen with the Saints? The Falcons are cooked. All these other teams. So the 49ers are still in a really good spot. At the same time, if things go left and you see your bumps and bruises throughout the year, but at the end of the year, you can look back on Trey Lance's season and say, man, he's moving in the right direction. I feel great about him having the keys to the car. That's a successful year.
I think so, too. We got my guy Jeff coming on. I want to ask Jeff, what is a successful season or successful 2023 season for you?
What I really want...
Or 2022 season. Excuse me. My bad.
First of all, Jason and Croc, thanks for getting me on. I'm a big fan.
Appreciate
it. Hey, what I wanted to talk about real quick. What was the one thing that would happen consistently when Jimmy would make mistakes in games? After the mistake was made,
he usually got better at the drive right after.
Well, no, there was no accountability. When the camera would pan to him after the play. He wouldn't take ownership for him. You see him smiling on the sideline.
Hold on, Jeff. I gotta push back a little bit on that. And I get what you're saying. And I've seen that floating around. A lot of people talking about that. But the only reason why I'm gonna push back is because although it looked like that to us, and it definitely did, you can't get a player to say a bad thing about him. And they go out of their way to really push how great of a leader he is. So I'm assuming, and now this is just me assuming, that maybe there is more accountability being taken on by him behind the scenes. But I agree in the sense of what you're saying. Yeah.
Croc, I'm not going to disagree with you. I think that if the draft was based off of who's the best game leader and the best guy in the locker room, he'd be the number one draft pick. You know what I mean? But what I'm saying, just from everything that everybody's saying in the locker room, what I'm saying is just in those two games that we saw Trey Lance go out and play against Arizona and against Texas, when he made a mistake, the camera panned to him. Do you remember seeing that? Like the personality of Trey Lance, whenever he made a mistake, you could see it on his face. He was disappointed, and he was eager to get out there and do better. And that's what I'm excited about.
I hear that, and I think that's a valid point. But let me pose this question to you, to everybody in the chat, to Croc. Sometimes in this game, you have to have a really short memory, right? And if a guy's anguish and language, like moving around, and it's lingering in his mind throughout the game, that's not a good thing either. So would you say that some people could view Jimmy Garoppolo smiling on the sideline as like, okay, done, get it out, it's done. Now I'm back and I'm rolling in the next drive because he has a short memory. And that's really what you need to be a successful NFL quarterback, because you can't let a past mistake affect your future play in that game. Would you say that's a okay way of looking at it?
Yeah, I do. But that kind of that kind of repeats itself when he goes back out there on the next play and does it again. You know what I mean? Or the next game when we need something from him, when it counts, he falters again. They're the same mistake. It's not something that he's learning how to not do and do better the next time.
Yeah, I hear you.
And like what you're saying, I think what you're saying about Trey Lance is that if he makes a mistake, maybe he's beating himself up too long, and then he's not going to get over it, and he's going to repeat the mistake again. Do you think that that's what we saw with Kyler Murray last year? That's why he struggled so much last year?
Yes and no. What I'll say about Trey is that, I won't say that it really bothers him for too long. It's just he goes right back to the tablet and he wants to work and he wants to figure out where it's wrong. So exactly. I think that's what you mean, right? I love that.
He's got a lot to prove.
Right. And that's and I think he hears all of this stuff about, well, it's never going to work. He played in the FCS, all that stuff. I think all that stuff really gets into his mind. As far as Kyler goes, he didn't play well down the stretch. I guarantee you he'll say that. Cliff did his Cliff thing where his offense goes poof at the end of the year and it just goes away. Don't tell me that because one or two guys get injured, now all of a sudden your offense can't run anymore. So, I mean, in that way, I don't really know what's going on. It felt like a perfect marriage with Cliff and Kyler, but every year it's the same thing over and over. Wash, rinse, repeat. The Cardinals come out a little hot. Everybody says, oh my God, watch out for the Cardinals. They falter in November and December, and then they end up just like that. So, I mean, I don't know if it's necessarily that Kyler didn't care or whatever. It's just that it's over and over the same thing. So it's when history repeats itself, is it more of just a trend or it's just that's how it's going to be? So I think they've got a lot of pressure on themselves to prove that that's not what's going to happen with them.
Right.
Here's a good one right here. Both things can be true. You can show the disappointment of making a mistake and also have a short memory and make adjustments immediately. I remember there was a time I watched Trey Lance on the field. And he had this missed throw, and he did this thing. You could see his reaction, where it's and then it was
what I was talking about.
Kind of shake it off, and then you see him kind of get back. So maybe I think that's what my guy Andrew is saying here, where it's you can show that you're disappointed in something, but all right, shake it off, and then make those adjustments immediately.
I think the fans get with you when you can see it on your face. Damn, I messed up, and I don't want to mess up again. So I'm going to get back to this book, and I'm going to make sure that I don't make that same mistake.
All right, Jeff, I'm gonna get you on, man. Get you off. I appreciate you coming on.
Appreciate it.
Appreciate it, Jeff.
Right. Here we go. I got another caller coming on, and I will put the link back in there for anyone else that wants to join. But here we go. My guy, Medic Mike. Medic Mike, what you at work right now?
Yes, sir.
Oh, man. Good morning. How you doing?
I'm good, man. How you both feeling?
I'm good.
Great, man.
Good. Wanted to touch on the successful 49er season. I agree with Jason that as long as we see progress and we see Trey grow, I think that's going to be a successful season. I also truly believe in Trey, and I think that if we see that, barring catastrophic 2020 type injuries, I think we're going to the playoffs. I think if we see a Trey who develops and continues to grow, that we're going to make a deep run in the playoffs. I think the NFC is weaker. I think we have one of the most talented rosters in the league. And I think the progression we've seen from just the preseason, from the first starting game, to which the team did nothing to help the kid. I mean, 5 holding penalties. You still saw him picking up 3rd and longs. And then what you saw in the Houston game, which was a must-win game to get in the playoffs, I love everything I see about him. I'm not sure how old you are, Jason, but I know Croc was born in the 80s. I was born in the 80s. A lot of
I'm probably older than both of you guys, actually, I think.
He's older than me. I was born in 87. I was born in 84.
Okay, see, I'm 87 too. So we know a lot of the generation now is gimme. They want now. I remember having encyclopedias in my house. I remember before the internet, all of that stuff. And so I think it's a different generation when we look at, you look at stuff like Twitter and everyone wants the stuff right now. You got to let it play out. You got to let the process work. And you got to let it, go through its steps. Another thing you said, man, is nowadays you get in social media, it's an echo chamber. Everyone follows who they want to follow. It's people who think like them, and you get that confirmation bias. The moment you stop being able to be wrong, you don't grow. You got to listen to different perspectives. You got to listen to different people. You need to take in different walks of life, different ways of thinking to help grow your own mindset. And so I hope a lot of people take that into account and let this kid really rock, because I think we're going to be something special with him.
For sure,
I
man.
like it. And that's some good stuff there. And I'll get you off, Mike. I appreciate you coming on.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
That's some good stuff. I think Mike said something very key there. And it's what I talk about, right, with Frank Gore. We may not all agree. And that's fine. But I will 100%, without a doubt, hear out your perspective.
That's it.
And I will give you that respect, and I will take it into consideration. Yesterday,
that's it.
Y'all had me really thinking about like the longevity thing. Before I'm like, the longevity, it's stupid. Like, and then people came on, they're talking about it, and they basically kind of explained to me like, nah, like, to do something that long, like it's special, and not a lot of people do it. And it's like, okay, like I understand it. I get it. Like I'm willing to hear something that maybe doesn't align with what I think. And I think that's how, a lot of people tend to grow with maybe their process or the way they see things or the way they work, the way their business grows, whatever it is. I think you have to have that.
Yeah, that's the thing. And that's it. It's like, okay, like I was saying about, this person that will not be named. Seems like you're not going to take anyone else's account, anyone else's viewpoint into consideration. So talk to the wall then. You'll get your point across. It's the same exact thing. Don't talk to other people then if you're going to just sit there and be like, nah, you're wrong. No. It's got to be give and take, and you got to be able to be flexible. And again, this is good life advice. Forget football. This is really good life advice. When things are different and you're seeing different things happen, you can't just dig in your heels on certain things. Like you got to be able to be flexible in any sort of relationship with your friends, your brother, your wife, your husband, anybody. And that's the way you should be looking at things. It should always be flexible, always.
Here we go. I got my guy Ryan coming on. Ryan, I want to ask you, what is a successful 2022 season for the 49ers in your opinion?
What it do? Good morning, fellas. Honestly,
morning.
I believe we will see the biggest success is if there's a turnover or any type of stagnation in the offense. We know with Jimmy Garoppolo, Kyle Shanahan will begin to change his offensive play calling. He will go really, really conservative. You run increase, you will see Jimmy passing will get like even the route concepts will become a lot more easier for him because he's playing like not to make a mistake and not to win the game. We've all noticed that throughout the season with Jimmy Garoppolo at the forefront of our team. I think we will see the biggest growth with Kyle Shanahan and the new scheme he'll run with Trey Lance is that even if he make a mistake, will we just automatically just go to like, oh my goodness, I mean like a safe mode, you know what I'm saying, and try to control everything. And I believe we will see the growth in Trey Lance when mistakes are made, that if he continues to call the same calls or continue to even go deep or, you know what I'm saying, to be bold regardless, even if he make a mistake or two, I would say now Kyle Shanahan trusts not only the mind of Trey Lance, but also his arm ability to do things that he necessarily didn't trust Jimmy Garoppolo.
And you know what's funny is, all right, in football, when a receiver drops a wide open pass, right? What does a good quarterback usually do with that receiver? Does he let it get in his mind, or do you go right back to him? Like, I got confidence in you, going right back to you, like catch the ball now, and that's it. And usually, boom, you dropped it, you get it again, boom, you're back in the saddle. I think that's the same sort of mindset, right? Like if you see the kid, he makes an errant throw, something like that, you can't just say, all right, well, we're just taking that out of the playbook. Like he's kind of done with Jimmy Garoppolo at times, but if you can see him say, okay, he misses this throw and then he goes right back to it, I think that shows growth on both ends because Kyle Shanahan has shown a propensity to say, nah, man, I don't like this. I'm taking this out of the playbook. He's not running this well. He can't do this anymore.
And also, like, when we think about, we know 35 minutes time of possession, no turnovers, 35 to 40 rushing attempts per game. That was our template last year. You know what I mean? If we knew in order for us to win the game, if we do those things, we probably was going to come up with a W. You know what I'm saying? And that's when we wouldn't even get like big turnovers. Eventually we started getting more turnovers towards the end of the season, and that kind of helped our chances when it comes to our win predictability. But I even think even with this year, when there is a turnover, we're not hoping that there are, but I think our ability to still overcome will increase. With Jimmy, whenever we had like one turnover game or even a 2 turnover game, it was almost a guarantee it was an L pretty much. But I think if we see throughout the season that even if we do have a turnover, And even if our defense isn't getting big turnovers, if we continuously win or can see that, okay, we're not rattled, we can still move the ball. The team still feels confident. They still have a swagger. I think that's gonna be a big that's something to look forward to, as a fan of the Niners. Like, yes, everything doesn't have to be perfect. And we still got chances. We still have a swagger about ourselves when we're out there. And the other team can feel that this is not the same old Niners, you know what I'm saying? Because we have more options when it comes to our toolkit. You know what I mean?
I agree.
I agree with you, man. Ryan, I appreciate you coming on.
Hold up. Before Ryan goes, Ryan, good night, goon. You cop that for your daughter?
I'm already on it. Hey,
all right.
Hey, everybody got a little one. Get that good night, goon, man. Check it out.
Man. Yeah, man. I used to read that to my daughter all the time, basically, bro.
All right.
Peace out.
All right, bro.
Bye.
All right, here we go. Real quick, got a contribution. I got this one I missed right here. Agree. Look at Minshew, and I think that's when I was talking about Jacksonville and their situation there. Shout out to Gardner Minshew. I like Gardner Minshew. I think he's a perfect backup.
He's fun. I
think he's a perfect backup.
He needs some fun in the league, man.
Here we go. Then I got my guy Eddie, and he says, "What's good, fellas? Confirmation bias kills the dialogue and creates bubbles. Can't grow if you are stubborn and want to be right all the time." I could not agree more. And I think by nature, I don't know if it's because I'm a Taurus and I think we're supposed to be stubborn. I've been like the most stubborn person my whole life, but I've seen the most growth when I kind of just like let go. Like, let me just let go and not be as stubborn and not be as stuck in my ways. It's helped me in all aspects of my life, including my marriage. My marriage has been amazing.
Right. So let me apply this real quick. So I just told you that it was raining, right? And I'm driving my wife to work, right?
Yeah.
We got to hurry up and get my daughter to school. She's wasting time looking for an umbrella. I'm like, what are you looking for? She's like, an umbrella. And I'm like, I didn't make a face, but I made a face, right? And then you get in the car, nobody talking. It's quiet. There's tense moments, right? Cool, whatever. Dropped her off. She said, thank you. I said, have a great day. I got back here. I was still a little tight at the way that she was acting, right? I just texted her like 10 minutes ago. Hey, I'm sorry for my attitude this morning. I apologize.
Nice. Look at you.
And she said, it's okay. We haven't been sleeping too much. It's all good. See? Like, you can be stuck and you can be stubborn and you can do that, or you can, make love, not war, bro. Like everybody got to kind of just get over that and be bigger in terms of everything. So,
yeah. All right, here we go. I got Coach Johnson coming on. Coach, how you doing?
Man. There he is. What's up, bro?
Yeah, what's up, man? Out here in Jersey.
Yes, sir. It's raining hard as hell.
Yeah, and the temp is crazy, man. Like one day it's like 30, the next day it's 70. I just wanted to go off a little bit what another caller was saying is with Jimmy Garoppolo's reaction and then Trey's. I think you got to be careful judging different players' reactions, right? Because just like all of us, we're all different individuals. We're all motivated by different things, and so you can't I can't coach Tommy the same way I'm coaching Timmy, and so. Just because Jimmy Garoppolo reacts one way towards something doesn't mean he doesn't care, or doesn't mean he's not into it, or he doesn't want to correct it or anything like that. And likewise, if Trey reacts differently, you can't judge him for that either. Different players and different people react and take care of things internally different ways. So I wouldn't sit there and watch a quarterback or a corner or any and judge their reaction on the sideline as to whether they care or they want to get better at something or like that, because people just don't work that way.
And the other thing is there's coaches have to coach people in different ways. There's no one way to coach everybody. Everybody reacts different to certain coaching and things like that. So everything has to be flexible. And it's always down to the person. It could be somebody who, like, when things get rough, they laugh about it sometimes because that's their natural reaction, right? Remember, they're human beings aside from football players. Some people, when things get a little tense, they laugh because they're a little bit nervous and and that's their way of like working through it. So again, I agree with you 100%. So when that caller said that about well, Jimmy doesn't really take it, you could look at it like Jimmy's smiling on the sideline because he's already like kicked it out of his mind. Like, okay, whatever, got it done. And now we're moving on to the next play, or you could have that way of looking at it. I just don't think that you can make a definitive statement based on, just seeing him on the sideline and not knowing. I think the thing that people should be focused on more is what he says after the game. when he's asked about the mistakes, it's never. It's usually not. Man, I made a mistake here on this play. This is on me. It's this guy kind of ran the route a little bit differently, and this is it's never really like Jimmy could save some of the criticism that other guys get in terms of routes and just be like, hey, you know what? It's on me. I messed up on that one. I could take this one, and that's it. That's the part that I think people are more frustrated on, as opposed to like reactions during the game when it comes to accountability with Jimmy Garoppolo.
It's probably compounded because his mistakes don't seem to get he doesn't seem to correct them, right? Like turnovers have been a continuous problem, and I would segue into what I think is probably going to be the biggest change with Lance is probably his ability to not turn the ball over, and that probably is one of the things coming from a coaching perspective that probably really excites Kyle Shanahan because I know it would chat my ass like if I'm sitting there and the quarterbacks turn the ball over. Like I think Kyle's probably excited about that, and it seems like if you extrapolate Trey Lance's stats out, and I know it's only 2 games, but you do have a sample size in college. He doesn't seem to turn the ball over, so that's really going to help the 49ers. I think that's going to be one of the biggest things, one of the biggest changes from Jimmy to Trey. So,
yeah, I'm excited to see how it all plays out, man. Coach, I appreciate you coming on.
Yep, no doubt.
Be easy, Coach. Stay dry.
All right, here we go. Got another guy. I got Niner gang bang. Good morning. How you doing? Uh-oh. Oh, he just kicked himself off. All right. But anyways,
that was not safe for work.
gang. Terrible.
No, I love when we do these live shows, bro, because like people will pop up that like, everybody has their group of people that pop in on all their shows and everything, but then there'll always be some wild people like with wild names, and it'd just be funny to me to read them, man.
Here we go. Got a super chat here. I've always been a Jimmy G supporter, but it's all in time for Trey. I honestly believe that if Trey had played in 2020, he would have started last season. I completely agree with Jason's take.
Appreciate you, Jerome. Ha, see, I was right. Nah, I'm just kidding. We're trying to get away from that. I'm just kidding.
Right. So he's saying if he would have played college in 2020.
Right. That I think that they would have probably made that move. I think, and I'll go back to that. I always felt like Kyle Shanahan was worried about having another winning season, and he just felt more confident in Jimmy doing that.
So I got some insight a little bit.
Okay.
Kyle Shanahan wanted to play Trey Lance last year.
Oh, wow.
But it just wasn't quite to the level of where he needed him to be to, trust that he could, be functional in the offense.
Okay. That makes things that makes me feel a lot better.
He wanted to play him.
Okay.
Yeah.
I like it. Good.
Right now it's just, throughout the offseason and this process and everything like that, it's just all right, like just don't make me look like an ass, Trey Lance. Come in OTAs and show like, all right, yeah, get rid of Jimmy G.
And the owners' meetings, I felt like he was pretty upfront, like talking about like, that's why we've been looking to trade Jimmy Garoppolo because we believe Trey is ready. That was the statement. That's it. That's all I needed to hear. All that other stuff about having 2 good quarterbacks and you don't cut a player like that, I don't care about any of that. He really told you right there what he was thinking going into the season. That's why I'm not as worried in terms of who's going to be starting.
Right. I agree. But, man, this was a fun episode talking about some confirmation bias going on with a lot of these young guys, man. Jason Aponte, I appreciate you coming on. You want to shout anything out before we get out of here?
No, man. Just thanks for having me on. Sorry that I was a little bit late. It was raining. I'm trying to make sure I got here safe and did everything. But thank you for having me on. But yeah, join my YouTube channel, Jason Aponte on YouTube. You can join the Spicy Squad. We do call-in shows for you guys to do that. My Patreon has more film breakdowns on there if you guys want to check that out. I just did a Tyquan Thornton one. So yeah, and follow me on Twitter at Jason Aponte 2103. A lot of content coming. Draft in Vegas. You in Vegas, right? You out there for the draft too, right?
Nah, man. The Locked On Network sending me to Dallas, man.
For what, man?
For the draft. I mean, I cover the draft for the Locked On Network, so they're sending me to Dallas and putting me up there, and I'm jealous. I'm jealous of all y'all that's about to be in Vegas. Trust me, I want to be there.
Trust me. Trust me. I mean, I'm gonna be working my ass off, and then like it's just gonna be no sleep because we got to do all the work, like in the media room, all that stuff, and then we can go out and party. But then we got to go do it all again. But yeah, man. Shout out to everybody that's gonna be in Vegas, man. Pull up and say what's up to your boy at some of the parties.
Awesome. All right, Jason, man, appreciate you coming on, bro.
Yes, sir. Thank you,
guys.
Stay
on because I want to talk to you about something. All right, stay
cool.
on.
Yeah.
All right, shout out to my guy, Jason LaPonte. Make sure you guys shoot him a follow, all that good stuff. I appreciate everyone that has been tuned in to this show the entire time. If you didn't start from the beginning, go back, listen to kind of the whole setup and some of the things that we talked about here. Listen, I'm not here to say that Trey Lance is going to be this great superstar quarterback. Obviously, I think when you draft a guy number 3 overall, you hope he is. And will he be? We'll find out. But I do think that, at the very least, I've seen some things that are encouraging. It shows that he's kind of heading in the right direction. So shout out to Trey Lance. Hopefully he's working hard in the offseason right now, getting that mind and body right. And shout out to you again, everybody that's in the chat right now. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, all that good stuff. We're closing in on 10,000 subscribers. Last time I checked, we were 50 subscribers away from 10K. So let's run those numbers up, get us up to 10K, do a little giveaway. All that good stuff. You know what it is. San Francisco 49ers Morning Show. We may be back tomorrow. We'll see. Got some film and stuff I got to watch for the Locked On Draft Show. But that's going to do it, man. We're out, man. I'll talk to y'all tomorrow. Hopefully. Peace.
Intercepted. It is picked off by Eric Walker. Over midfield. He'll run it all the way into the end zone. Touchdown.
Cross Talk TV podcast. Peace.